I guess I would pride myself on building meeting a lot of great people and like wanting to really stay in touch with great people. It's like the older you get, like you realize that's impossible, right? To
Yeah,
keep everyone so
definitely.
close. And so I guess my fear would be,
Hey, welcome back to 5 Life Questions. I'm your host, Julian. This is episode 6 with our guest, Eric Rossitch. As you may have noticed, today's episode is on the longer side, so I'm going to keep this intro very brief. The main thing is that I just need to give you a quick heads up about what may be sensitive content in this episode. In this episode, mainly I end up talking about suicide prevention, and it's not graphic, but it's an impassioned speech. If that is something that will alter your state of mind or otherwise upset you, I'll make it clear in the description below as far as how you can kind of work around that. But otherwise, a really great episode, and let's just jump to it. All right, see you at the end. All right. Today I'm joined by Eric Rossitch, who we recently heard just in the last episode, honored by Matt Millington. Eric, will you help us set the stage a little bit? Tell us who Matt is, like a little bit about the relationship.
yeah. So it's funny, Matt and I knew of each other and had met each other before we went to college because we competed against each other and kind of used soccer in North Carolina. And then we both attended the University of North Carolina and tried out for the club team, and we're both on the club team for the 4 years there, and that's where we got really close. And yeah, he's definitely one of my closest friends. He's a confidant. He's a special person. He's very, very genuine, kind, just really cares about the people around him. And he's someone that I could pick up the phone at any moment, and he would in an emergency, and he would help me stay calm. He would, somehow figure out how to support me, even if I couldn't figure out the problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a really close friend from school and from soccer, and we stay in touch and talk all the time still, even though we live on different sides of the country. So it's a special relationship for sure.
Right on. Okay, well, with that, thank you for that preview, and I'm going to send you this link. Go ahead and open it, watch it. We're going to catch your reaction, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. Yeah.
I'm ready.
Eric, I honor you for your genuineness and authenticity, and your ability to always be striving for ways to do things that you love with the people you love. I think that you are, as you know, one of my closest friends. People 100% like aspire to be like you. I think that I really think back to like times we had in college, whether it be times when we would go out to your parents' house in Charlotte, or like times we'd have like around Chapel Hill, whether it's playing soccer, visiting Seattle, and just like going out to the fields and juggling for hours. Like you just find a way of like always making people feel at home. And I'm sure that's not just for me. I'm sure that anyone that's met you can attest to that. And you've just always been one of my closest friends. And I think that, whether it's us going out and like eating 10,000 pounds of sushi or staying up till like 3 a.m. talking for literally no reason, I think that like, a lot of my growth can be attributed to like you. And it's just been, you are one of my favorite people, as you know. And yeah, I think you are doing phenomenal what you do. And I just really appreciate the way that you always go about life with like, it's hard on your sleeve, and that's the way you go.
Wow. Yeah. Well, my first reaction is, it's a two-way street, right? Like the reason that we have those special experiences and we feel that way is because, he's that kind of honest and supportive, and he's that person that you can trust just as much as he trusts me. So, wow. Yeah. It's funny. It's like anytime I feel like reminiscing on old times and on experiences, like, because it's hard to remember everything, but like the things he calls out, right?
Right.
Like, I remember those things, right? Like
Yeah.
it all like comes back, rushing back. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that was cool. That was really cool.
When you hear him kind of highlight in the beginning, like right away, authenticity, genuineness, and then he even ends with Eric is somebody who wears his heart on his sleeve. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think like going to the questions that you sent me, like I think I would answer it like in that way. Like if, the ideal compliment one, right? Like I think that is something that like I definitely would I want my friends, I want other people to feel that way about me, like that
Yeah.
I am honest, that I am myself at all times, that I genuinely care, that it's not a front.
Yeah.
And so like that means the world to me to, come from him for sure. Cause like
Yeah.
that's what I care about
Mm,
most for sure.
yeah. Well, I don't want to dig too far past that, so we still have something to talk about when we get to the end. But that's an awesome start. At this point, people are going to be wondering, all right, we've heard the connection, but now let's hear about Eric. And why don't you kind of kick us off at just where you're at in life today?
Yeah, so I live out in Seattle, Washington. I am a soccer coach. So I coach at the Women's Pro Academy here, OL Reign. I'm very, very passionate about coaching, but also, women's sports in general, and gender equity in sport. And I did a lot of my research in grad school on that. I went to the University of Washington out here, and got a master's in communications, and yeah, I did a lot of my work on women's soccer, and the history of women's soccer, and the lack of investment and resources in it. So I'm super, super passionate about what I do and what we provide, and the impact that we're making on the community, but also just in general, the women's soccer in the context of the world, and what it should mean to society, and the access to it, and the fairness and equality, within it, because it's the world's game, right? It's not just for certain people, regardless of your gender or your race or your economic situation, whatever it is. So really passionate about that, and then I also do video analysis for our pro team, and so that's where I get to learn from the best, and be around just like really, really, really brilliant people, and people that are at the highest level of what they do. So I feel very fortunate at all times. I just try to absorb as much as possible, and um, yeah, it's cool. I get to nerd out because I love this. I love soccer, and I also
Yeah.
just like I'm again passionate about women's football specifically, and so
Yeah.
it's yeah, I get to nerd out in pretty much every way.
Yes. Just right off the bat. I mean, listen, I'd love to be able to say that I've taken, my studies and I'm using what I've studied and learned every single day in my career. But I'm not. And I can accept that. But it is cool to hear how you're able to combine passion with curiosity, and even stewardship, how you want to be able to lead in something that you believe in and play a leadership role in that. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's fun. Well, anytime you're out in Seattle, Washington, please come to a game.
Yeah.
They're amazing athletes that
Yeah.
they mean so much. Like they are so much more than players, right? They represent so many causes, and they're so vocal about that.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see them impact and influence culture
Yeah.
outside of the soccer field. And so it just makes you want to like support them even more
Yeah.
because of that. Which is just, yeah, it's special. So
That is really cool. And I will take you up on that. Don't think I won't. That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah, please come, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to go a little deeper now. As we get older, we think more about meaning and purpose. And I think that values are ultimately, where we derive purpose from. And so that's why we start off with this question. And that is, what are your top 3 core values?
Mm. Yeah, so I think I've been fortunate enough to take some courses, whether that's in grad school or whatnot, to leadership and courses that allow me to reflect a lot.
Yeah.
I think belonging would be my top core value. I think that's something that when you go to when you boil it down, right, you talk about the needs of humans. And it's that like community, that safety, like that is something that is necessary. Um, so not just in general, but also just for me, like I think back on my experiences and like community and having somewhere where I feel safe, where I can be myself, where I feel included, where essentially I belong, right? Like that, those are the places that have shaped me, and have like allowed me to get through really hard times when life is not easy.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's part of why I'm really passionate about what I do, because inclusion, belonging is like one of the first values that I kind of make sure that all of my teams and athletes understand and what it means. Because it's not that everyone's going to be the same, because every individual is different. Doesn't mean that everyone's going to be best friends or hang out with each other all the time, right? But it's that, hey, this is a safe space. This is you belong here. Like anytime you need me, you need this group, you need people here, like we are a community for you to reach out to and for support, and yeah, so that would be my number one. Two would probably be integrity. And that goes back to what Matt was saying. That's why I really value that, because I want to be genuine at all times. I have actually the state slogan of North Carolina is Esse quam videre, and it's in Latin. It means to be rather than to seem. And I found out that was the state slogan for North Carolina, like sometime through college, and I ended up like actually getting a tattoo of North Carolina and the places that I was like grew up and was born and whatnot, but also have the slogan on there.
Yeah.
Because I like I truly do try to live by that at all times. I guess it's a pet peeve of mine when people act differently depending on who they're around or who's watching.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like so that's another value again that I try to coach into my kids as well, is that it's who are you when no one's around? Like, are you still the same person? Like, and yeah, that would be my second core value. And then I think third, this is such a tough question. I think humility. And I think how I arrived to that is like, I think what makes me angry, it probably would just like I guess grinds my gears, is ego. And when people think that they're above other people, like it kills me. And I think it kills the sense of belonging, right? It kills the the ability for people to feel safe, and the ability for people to feel that they're competent, and that they can believe in themselves, right? Like it kills self-belief, it kills self-esteem.
Yeah.
When people walk into a room, whatnot, and they just immediately are condescending or they put other people down. So that like it's a big reason why I struggled at times in the growing up, playing soccer and just like being around a male locker room at times. It can be really frustrating. And I was always a leader on the teams that I was a part of. And I did my best to kind of snuff that stuff out, because there was nothing I hated more than some of my teammates or some of my friends, talking bad about other people, right? Or talking that, oh, like I'm so much better than them, like, or in whatever facet of life it might be, right? Or because like they're short, we're gonna make fun of them, or and it's just like, I don't know, like it just kills me. So I guess like going back to why humility is so important, I think like you can learn something from everyone, and everyone brings something, and everyone's competent. And I think, the moment that you think you're above other people, or that you think you're done learning, or that you think, other people can't add to your life or to the community, or whatever you have going on, project you have going on, then I think then you lose, right? Like no one wants to be a part of that, right? No one wants to be a part of you if you're like that. So yeah, I think humility's humility is extremely important in terms of surrounding yourself with really, really good people and kind people and genuine people. So
really well said. I love how well intertwined those three are. I believe that everybody is in their own process of pursuing who they're trying to become. And I think along that process is trying to find that harmony of our core values in a way that we can continue to steward, exemplify, encourage, and teach. And man, you really have these three weaved together so well. One thing I'm curious about is, as you talk about humility, this one had more of a, when you describe the significance of it, this one had more of a approach of things to avoid, things not to be. And so I'm kind of curious if you wouldn't mind trying spinning that in terms of, how you promote humility through what habits, routines, actions. Just curious.
I think I am definitely terrible at bragging about myself. It's like it's just like I don't care, to be honest. Like I'm a team player. Like it doesn't matter what I've done in the past. Like, yeah, can it help me like build my self-esteem and self-belief? Absolutely. But like what matters is how I affect the people around me going forward. And I honestly, I don't care about acknowledgement, recognition, as long as I know that I am providing value for someone else, that I am supporting someone else. I think when I've been around people with egos, I think it can be intimidating for people. I think when there are egos in the room, we like, again, they're all intertwined, right? When we talk about safety, belonging, all that, when you have egos, I think it kills that sense of, it's like competence, right? Like, I think people need to feel like, I guess the opposite of imposter syndrome almost.
Yeah.
Like people need to feel like they belong, that they can do something, that they can be something. And I think in order to like show belief in other people, you have to put away, I'm trying to think of a better word rather than ego. I don't know if you have one on the top of your mind.
No, it's fitting. It's fitting. Just kind of poking and prodding at it. But one thing that I talk about with some of my friends is this, like how dangerous the cultural promotion is of either the self-made man or the natural woman. And it is promoted to us in all kinds of marketing techniques, that there are products that you can buy to help you become one of those things. That's in more words than ego, but I do think it can be boiled down to ego. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like self-promotion. You just said it, like self-promotion. Like I think that, I don't know, I guess we'll probably get into it later, but I think like the biggest accomplishments come from genuine commitment to the people around you. And I think when you invest in the people around you rather than, putting yourself first in that sense, right? Like, I think those are where your biggest accomplishments, that I guess, someone that does have an ego would brag about, right? But like the best accomplishments come from those. And I think the only way you can really achieve those, and the way it carries more meaning is that if you do it with other people, and that you bring the people around you with you. And I think that like achievement carries so much more meaning in that way.
That's awesome. Eric, I'm ready to play for you. Anytime. Anytime you need an extra body, let me know.
Yeah. Striker.
I was fired up by that. Yeah. I'm ready. Left-footed too. So, I hear that those are hard to come by. So let me know.
Yeah, for sure. High value.
Awesome. There was something that you mentioned before, but I'm that I'm going to be able to tie back in later. So let's move on for now. Kind of pull a layer back into Eric by asking, where are your fears at in life today?
Man, what a question. I think I'd probably have two like big ones. Like I think one's imposter syndrome, and that's haunted me forever, and I think it haunts a lot of us. It's funny and ironic because I'm sitting here in my position, right? That like what I do for a career, I'm charged with teaching kids how to escape that, right? And how to conquer that fear.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I struggle with it, right?
Sure.
It's funny in that way. So I think there's days where I do better at battling it, and then days that I struggle. And I think what gets me through is probably one, if I take time to reflect on where I'm at, and that like, you know, I reflect on what I have achieved and who I have helped and all of that, and I, you know, then I can feel a sense of competence. But then also I think it's important to surround yourself with people that believe in you. And I think if you do that, like that completely turns the tables on imposter syndrome, and will absolutely, you know, just blow up your self-esteem, will, you know, shatter the ceiling that you thought you had. So yeah, I try my best to hold on to those people, and contact them and keep them around, and you know, utilize them when I'm, you know, most in need, right? In fighting that I don't want to call it a demon, right? Fighting that fear. And I think that's what's great about just close friends and mentors, is that they're there for you in that way, you know? And so that's why I love what I do, because I can be that for someone.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
The other one I'd probably say is, I don't know if this one's like too deep, but I've built I guess I would pride myself on building meeting a lot of great people, and like wanting to really stay in touch with great people. It's like the older you get, you realize that's impossible, right? To keep everyone so close, and to consistently communicate and be in contact and share things with each other. Like it's, even with the modes of communication that we have in modern day, it's too difficult, right? There's content over there, this communication overload, work overload, all this stuff. And so I guess my fear would be not spending enough time with the people that I connect with. But I think it's an irrational fear in a way. Because I'd say my love language is quality time. So when I am with someone, like I would say I'm probably not the best at like reaching out and, you know, planning. I'm horrendous at planning. So my job is challenging me to be better at that, but I am definitely a horrendous planner. And but I will say, like, when I'm with people, again, going back to like what Matt said and what makes like my heart full, is that like Matt feels that way, is like when I am with someone, when we are talking, when we are in a conversation, when I am listening to their grievances or whatever it might be, like I am there. I'm fully there. I'm not doing 10 things. I'm not doing 20 things. I'm not like fake listening. Like I am there to hear you, see you, you know, help you, whatever it is. And so in that way, I don't think, like, it doesn't get to me too much, but it does get to me at times. And I'm like, oh man, maybe if I planned better here, maybe if I contacted this person more, or like whatever, am I being too selfish right now, caring about my career and all of that? And I think I moved into like full-time coaching a couple of years back, and I think what that has helped me conquer that fear a little bit, because what I was doing previously was a bit more like marketing, still working within the sport, which is great, but I was kind of doing a little coaching on the side. But like coaching is where I felt like I was truly impacting people on like a, like person face to face, basis. And like, if I put extra time into my job, yeah, sure. Like, am I putting extra time into career? Yeah. But all the extra time I put in is directly influencing my kids and my players, right? And could be the make or break for them on, whether they're accomplishing something within soccer, or it could be the make or break for them in terms of their imposter syndrome at school, or their, feeling like they belong. Or I had a conversation, not to get dark, right? But like, obviously the suicide rates are through the roof, these days, and what kids are going through right now, it's just, I can't imagine, with the world that they live in. And so to be a source of light for them, and spend time with them, and give them attention and proper attention, and just know that, like, hey, you are seen, like, people care for you, I care for you. Like that means the world to me. So if I'm spending extra time doing that, then I'm okay with it.
Love that. There's a lot that I want to break down there. But I want to jump on a tangent actually right away. Almost like a
Let's go.
self-promotion for this podcast. I don't know when I will be doing just like a me and the camera intro of this podcast. I plan on just putting it out there and letting it find its audience.
Mm-hmm.
But something that Eric just talked about, and is very significant here, is suicide prevention. The whole point of this, for everybody and anybody who's listening, is I just want for all of us to be reminded of two things in each episode. One, everybody is doing their best. And two, nobody's doing their best by themselves. I kind of hinted at it before, and like the self-made man or the natural woman. And I'm not going to spend much time defending or proving to you where that exists. But I do just want to advocate a little bit more for community. And that's what this whole thing is about. If you are listening to this and you're in that place where you're struggling to understand meaning and purpose and why, first, if you know Eric, I just hope you see how blessed you are to see somebody who does want to make people feel heard and seen and help people find their purpose through sport, through passion, which is awesome. If you are in your younger years, maybe in your teenage years, or even in your grown years, and you're struggling to understand why me, why would somebody care about me? I'll tell you right now, that's an impossible question to answer in one go. It's a question that we find answers to little by little, using friends, using community. And I'm not afraid to use that word using. I think we shy away from each other because we think we're using each other at times, and that relationships can be transactional. But to a point that Eric said at the very beginning or earlier on, no, actually I wrote it down, the biggest accomplishments come from genuine commitment to the people around you. I could not agree more with that. And that can be something that's very hard to believe when you have doubt about people holding value for you and holding space for you to explore and be curious. But it just takes small steps. And I hope that this, if there is anybody who just needs to hear that, just know it's just about taking small steps. So yeah, okay, we're gonna get back to the interview, but we were right on that line, and I didn't want to shy away from it because Eric is being so generous and so vulnerable. I thought it was just the perfect time to get to honor that.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing that, Jen.
For sure. A couple of things that I wanted to call out. One, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. But I see these two fears as almost like fighting each other. Because on the one hand, to really help serve people to overcome imposter syndrome, it takes time. And then on the other hand, you need that quality time to get to even explore new connections with people that you connect with. I wonder if you kind of see that as snake biting the tail, and if you feel, I don't know, at times drained by that or energized by that, or that they don't quite conflict head on as it might appear, like for the first time listener like myself.
No, that's, yeah. I didn't really think about them that intertwined, but I think the way you just put that, yeah. That's why I like conversations, right? It's like
Yeah.
someone can like put two things together that you never thought would, and you're like, whoa, different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think they're, again, like, they're two legitimate fears that I have on a day-to-day basis. But like I
Yeah.
said, I think with the community that I've found, like the passion that I've found, which took me, a long time to really find the place that I feel like I'm making the most impact, and I am being most efficient with my time here on Earth, and like, filling my cup up, right,
Yeah.
and feeling rewarded and feeling like I'm influencing people. I mean, it took me a long time to get there.
Yeah.
But now that I'm here, and I'm in a position that I can do that, I think, like, both fears, I think, at least over the last year or two, have been a little bit more suppressed, because of what I'm fortunate enough to get to do.
Yeah.
And who I'm fortunate enough to get to do it with. Like, my boss, like, I probably brag about my academy bosses, like our youth academy.
Yeah.
Like, I brag about them probably every day in
Yeah.
some shape or form. And I think, like the reason I brag about them is not because I'm like, oh, like, they're just like the best coaches in the world, like they know everything. It's like, no, like, they are, I mean, that too, right? But like, no, they believe in everyone around them, and they're just like, to be surrounded and get to be led by people like that is just really inspiring. And I feel like anytime I'm around them, I am better for it. So the imposter syndrome, right, is combated. And I'm like, oh no, what? They make me feel like I belong.
Yeah.
Right. So that's combated. And then when I talk about, the time that we're giving, like, when I'm spending time with them, when I'm spending time with our kids, the way we talk about, in very vulnerable ways, how we affect the kids, what they have going on, how they're, people over athletes, how we have such a direct impact on who they are, and how they're going to get through their stages of life. Like that amps me up. And then that fights the fear of, I guess, the spending time, right? That, like, oh, am I spending my time right? Am I spending my time with the right people? Like, all this stuff. Like, so yeah, like, I think I'm really fortunate to have found the right people to be around, I guess, and to be doing what I love to do. So yeah, I don't know if that kind of answers that question, but that was a little bit of a word salad, I guess. But
No, that did explain kind of how you keep these, maybe not at bay, but kind of keep an eye on them, which you were also, as you explained both of them towards the end. You talked about how you do take steps to kind of quell those fears. I'm a very faith oriented person, and there's a pastor that I follow who like kind of taught me, like, the key in life is not to shut out the voice of doubt. The objective is just to turn down the volume, because if we shut it out completely, that's when all of those things that you talked about, ego, come up in the worst ways. So yeah, I love how you have a very good feel for when you need that help, and how it fills your cup, like you said, and then coming all the way back around to the gratitude that you have for the people who help you fill your cup. And that is awesome. Really, really well worded. And yeah, I hope you know, motivating for somebody that might be listening to this. So really well said, Eric. Yeah.
You just also you just saying, hey, well said, like that helps me, because I would say part of the imposter syndrome, honestly, is I feel like I can't articulate some things sometimes.
Sure.
Like I have
Yeah.
all these thoughts in my head,
Yeah.
and then I just can't actually articulate them,
Yeah.
and I feel so dumb, you know? So I appreciate you, appreciate you saying that. Like that helps with that imposter syndrome, you know?
For sure, for sure.
So,
And to your credit, I'm asking you deep questions just on the spot here. So yeah, no worries at all. Yeah. I'm curious. When you're a coach, you do have to make those tough judgments. And I can tell by your disposition that you don't have a hard time regularly with being on the side of judgment and not judgmental. But I wonder, when you have to make some of those tough cuts or have those tough conversations or decide playing time and then the rationale, do you feel at times that you might be feeding people's imposter syndrome? And how do you manage that?
mm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the challenge of every coach or teacher, mentor, right? Is like,
Right.
how do you challenge them without, right, killing their self-esteem,
Right.
right? And I think that's something like I probably just grapple with every day, and I think it's on us to be reflective and constantly check ourselves.
Mm.
And I think it's important to give time to reflect after certain things happen, right? Because you could be reactive, but then really, really reflect on it, give it time, and then be like, oh, okay, you know what? I actually maybe I need to change course on this. Maybe I need to have another conversation with this kid. Like actually looking back on it, whether it's reviewing film or like having conversations with other people, right? Getting other perspectives. That's another thing with coaching is I think it's really important to be collaborative and to get other perspectives and to learn from each other. Because if you do it yourself, there is always going to be bias there, always. And I think we will get things wrong. Like we're human, so we're not going to get everything right. And all we can do is use the resources that we have around us, and to the best of our ability, be honest, and that's all we can do, right? If we have to believe that we're doing the right thing,
Yeah.
even though we know that we might get it wrong.
Right.
Unfortunately, I think it's been a mold in coaching culture for a long time that people kind of go on power trips, right? And people don't want other people's help because they don't have humility, because they think they know everything, and they think they know exactly what each kid needs, when in reality they don't know. No one knows everything that they need. And the way that you will help that is like learning from other people, getting other people's perspectives, trying to research various stages of development, or new research on things, because research constantly changes on psychology and on emotions and on child development and learning and all of that, right? So I think it's definitely it's important for us to use each other, use the resources around us, and then be as honest as possible, and whatever happens from there is out of our hands.
Yeah. Got to draw the line for your own mentals, right?
Yeah, like we can't. I think there's a million problems in the sports world and the coaching world and women's football. That's a whole nother thing. I'm sure you've seen that whole recent news cycle, and that can get overwhelming, especially for the heart. And I think it's important for us to we can't we can't burden, we can't take that burden. Like
Yeah.
we just can't. Like no individual can do that. And all we can do is control what we can control and influence it in a positive way as much as possible and try to carry it forward
Yeah.
in a new direction and change the culture. Like we have to try to set an example. Because if you try to take all of that weight on your own shoulders, like if you try to take like every kid that comes through our academy or every kid that we like, if we're like,
Right.
oh no, like we are responsible for their entire life, like that, we can't, that's not our job,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of how I'd answer that one.
Yeah. Thanks for kind of peeling back the curtain and sharing that with me. That's fascinating. All right. Well, I like that question because as I've said a couple times, everyone's going through something, and that kind of sheds light on, something unique that we're all kind of going through. But on the flip side of that, I think that when it comes to our successes, we are also not all that we appear to be. So I'm curious if you have like a secret accomplishment that you're proud of that not a lot of people know about.
Man, I thought about this one. I feel like this is like the hardest. I feel like this is the hardest one. Like, one that I mean, people know about it, but I was asked to officiate my cousin's wedding this past summer.
Yeah.
And to be at first, the imposter syndrome took over, right? Like immediately, right when they asked me, like I'm like honored right away, but I'm also like the whole year I'm just like sweating, like why did they choose me? Like I've never done this before, like what, like this is, I'm so nervous, like they literally like the whole year I'm like not sweating it early on because I'm like, oh, it's so far away, but as it like approached and I was like, oh, like I have no idea where to start, like what am I gonna do, like they should have chosen someone else. Like that's what I was thinking every single day. And then about like 2 weeks away from it, like I got them to like record some answers of some questions I sent them, and it was like so wholesome. And then like I started to put those questions into like what I know about them, and then I was like, oh man, like I actually know them both extremely well. And the fact that they would ask me to do this on like a day that most people who are married, I would say that is like one of the most important days of their life. Like I was just like overwhelmed with like gratitude and honor and just like almost like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. So the day came and like, I always think for those things, like you're so much more nervous beforehand. And then right when it happens, like it's great, and you know that you're prepared. So it was like looking like that's one of my actually favorite accomplishments recently is just like putting their story together and being able to be part of their day. Like that was really, really cool. And yeah, like I said, like just very like grateful to that someone felt so close to me and felt like I would be someone that could tell their story in that way and be part of their day like that. Like that was really cool. So yeah, I'd probably say that.
Yeah, that's so fun. That's so fun. Have you started making business cards for Eric the officiant? You ready to go again?
Oh my gosh, my whole family, like literally, like half the people there were like my family, right? So like my whole family's joking about that. Like, oh, have you set up your website yet? Like all this stuff. I'm like, oh no. I was like, no, not that. When you talk about like little accomplishments, like I was talking to like one of our players the other day, and she asked me like the question of the day. Her question of the day was like, what is like, she was like, oh, like how like girls have like girl boss moment, or like I don't want to, I can't curse, right?
Do whatever you want. It's gonna be a YouTube, Spotify, man.
No, she was just like, what is like your boss bitch moment? And I was like, man, when I make like a good meal for someone and someone's like, wow, like, oh, this is like delicious, genuinely, like, can I get the recipe, like whatnot? That's like, when I just like cook it up, they do nothing, they just sip wine, like whatever it is, I do it all, put it on the table, and then like that is definitely something like low key that I'm like really proud of all the time. If I can like put a concoction together in the kitchen,
Yes, sir. Love that. Love that. I love that for you. Yeah. Just curious. Did you say that like one question a day? Is that like a routine that you have, or Or is that just somebody asking you a question?
No, it's one of our pro players like will occasionally just like come at each other with some questions of the day. Like it could be something like ludicrous, like all right, like you're famous for, everyone in the world knows you for one thing, like what is it, whatever. Or it could be you could, one I asked the other day was like, okay, you can invite, you have a party tonight, you can invite any musician, dead or alive.
Yeah.
Who is it? Yeah. Right. Or it could be silly, like you could be a character in any book or whatnot. And I think like it's good to it helps to get out of the mundane. Hey, you okay? Like, hey, how are you today? Oh, good. Yeah. And we see each other so much and all that. It's good to just like get out of that and like start to, really get into each other's personalities and, get to know each other a little bit more. And that's why I really enjoy those questions. And she actually has like a note, like I think in her notes app, she has them all like a bunch written down that she really likes. Yeah. I need to do that, or I need to she needs to send it to me. Because I think those are great. I think it stimulates so much good conversation,
Totally. That's great. That's great. All right. Well, let's roll over to the next question here. And the next question is kind of stepping back. And man, you've already dropped a lot of great advice, I think. Stuff that I've written down and saved for myself for sure. But if you wouldn't mind just imparting some words of wisdom for us. It can be multiple things. So, however you want to take it, this one.
Yeah, I feel like this one, like I just like new things come to my mind every year, where I'm like, oh no, this is what I would tell people. And then the next year I'm like, actually, you know what? This is what I'd tell people. I think I mentioned it earlier, but I do think surround yourself and find people that believe in you and keep them around. And I think that is just so crucial to achievement, so crucial to finding who you are, and being who you are, and getting to be who you are. Like that's so crucial. And I've been fortunate to be surrounded by some really, really amazing people that like literally have just given me an opportunity, right? Taken a risk with me or whatnot. And like, that's why I am where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I attribute everything to that. And that's why I love I brag about my academy bosses because they show that in me. That's why I love what I do, because I get to like believe in the kids that I coach, So that's one piece for sure. Like, absolutely surround yourself with people who believe in you,
Love that.
Then another one, maybe like, I think fortune and luck play a part in everything. To a certain extent, you can create your own luck though as well, right? Like, so luck will always play a part, but you can always put yourself in the best possible position. That's where I coach a lot, right? With controlling what players can control, right? Like, and that's a big piece of our task is like getting them to, control their emotions, right? Control what they can control. Stop worrying about the opponent. Stop worrying about, these external things that are external locus of control, right? That they cannot, you can't affect that. All you can affect is yourself and how you improve yourself, right? You won't always be able to win the game. You'll always be able to determine what the outcome is.
Yeah.
You can always control yourself. And so I think like that's one is like you create your own luck, and you do that by like, putting yourself in the best possible position to, whether it's getting a job or like, wanting to chase a certain passion or whatever it is. Like, are you putting in the work? Are you doing everything you possibly can to get that opportunity? Now, it may not come, or it may not come right away, or it may come in a different form than you thought. But all you can do is put your best foot forward and do your best, because that's all any of us can do. And then and then I would say actually the last this will roll into a good quote. I think it's Maya Angelou. I'm like 99% sure, but it's like all you can do is your best, right? That's all you can do. And then once you know better, do better. Like, And that's it.
Awesome that you landed on that one. I was going to kind of double click into that first when you said about surrounding yourself with people I believe in you, keep them around.
Mm.
I forget when I heard this. It was definitely this year. This is one of those things that so simple yet so profound. That is, you will only go as far as you believe in yourself, not somebody else. And that then kind of can get people to slide into that mental space that we talked about before of then feeling like it's up to you, and like the pressure kind of jumps and can jump. Maybe not for everybody.
Yeah.
But what makes that easier is when you do surround yourself with people that believe in you. And that doesn't mean that that comes with more expectations. No. It comes with that last point that Eric just made. They help you identify and learn and build on things that you know to be better. They're not there to judge you. They're not there to compare themselves to you. God, I hope. But it is to that last point. We surround ourselves with good people because they will help us learn what's better, and they will also help us achieve that better one day. So, yeah, I like that you landed on that. And again, to no surprise, they all intertwine so well together. So, yeah, awesome, Eric.
Yeah, of course.
Some great advice. That's some great advice. Yeah. All right. Well, this brings us to our last question. This is my favorite question. I say that every time I prep it. Like I preface it too. I still love this question. And that question is, what is the best compliment that somebody could give you?
I think we kind of already touched on it, right? But I think, to be honest, like what Matt said was kind enough to say about me. Like that's probably what I would want people to take away, if nothing else. Is like, wow, yeah, Eric, he cares. He genuinely cares, and like he is himself all the time. Like, and that is what I would want people to take away from me, whether they know me for an hour or a day or years, whatever it is. And that's what I want, my players to take away as well, is like, yeah, he cared. Like maybe they don't agree, right, with whether it's substitution patterns or like them in a certain position, or like, at times us being an elite academy, like we have to have hard conversations, right? About maybe it's not the right place, for a kid, right? But
right.
Even if we have those tough conversations, like I just want them to know that I care about them as human beings. And so like, yeah, that is definitely the best compliment that I could get. And then on a more joking side, I definitely would like to be, known as a good chef as well.
Yes, sir. Love it. Eric the chef. Love it. We are at the time to then get to let you honor somebody else. Before I go there are a couple of things that I want to say to summarize, Eric. Those two things are, one, I kind of tested you on this before, but I was just kind of curious how you would word, how you explore and express humility. And I am impressed by how prevalent it is that like you don't even notice you're doing it. But right away, when you talked about promoting women in soccer, you talked about they're more than just athletes. You talked about what else they do and what else they care about. That was like one of the first things you said in this call. And then later on, the humility to be able to engage with people on questions that they ask, to, as you said so eloquently, step out of the mundane. That also takes humility. And I love that is something that you do so naturally and can engage with people who, for many, it's hard to ask questions that are out of the ordinary. And it sounds like you've got a girl that for her it's not. And I can certainly relate to her in that way. But the fact that you do engage that and foster that in the communities that you coach and lead is also very significant and worth calling out. And then the third thing is when you talked about coaching and some of the decisions you have to make, understanding that collaboration is acknowledging that we don't always get it right. That's something that anybody can take away at any level, wherever they are. And that's another exemplary way of living with humility. So kudos to you, and thank you for sharing that. And then the second thing is just how reproachful you are. Not reproachful, because that kind of makes you sound hesitant. How thoughtful you are on how you are fostering people, but then balancing that with your own fears in life. One of my best friends, he taught me this phrase that I try to hold close, and that is every action you take is a vote against who you're going to be, or a vote for who you are becoming. And you think about your actions so much, but also in a way that you don't get frozen by, and that's what I really, really admire. The thoughtfulness balanced with the, okay, it's time to move. Seems like something that has been practiced, and something that you have a lot of confidence in now. And yeah, again, just thank you for sharing your story with me today. And I look forward to hearing what other people have to learn as well, because this was an awesome interview. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, man.
Okay, we are actually now at that time where you get to honor somebody else. Do you know who you'd like to honor today?
Yeah, so one of my best friends in the world, his name's Julian. He lives in San Diego now, but we've known each other probably longer than I've known my little brother. We've known each other since we were like 2, 3 years old. So we grew up in the same area in North Carolina. We are intertwined in so many ways because his family's also Cuban and my family's Cuban.
Okay.
So we grew up celebrating some of those, traditions and being able to relate to each other in that way. And, at the end of high school, he moved over to California because his dad got a job over there. And so, I stayed on the East Coast, but, we still remained in touch and, visit each other. And like, he is just one of the most supportive people. Like I said earlier, I'm not great at reaching out all the time and everything. He is like any game that I had, like working in soccer for so long now, like any game that I've been a part of, like he texts me every game day and he's like, good luck, man, thinking about you. Like, and it means the world to me, and I hope he knows. Like I try to express to him how much he means to me, and I feel like at times I let him down because I'm so bad at reaching out to everyone all the time. But he means like the world to me, and there's not many people out there that have known me for that long. That I still interact with and all right, like that. So that's what the phrase is, like you can't make old friends, right? Like. And like he's supportive, he's kind, he's thoughtful. We have birthdays kind of like near each other every year, so we send each other gifts, and he's always very thoughtful with those as well. He's checking in on me when I've gone through some tough things with family recently, and he's been there for me. So I hate that we don't live right next to each other, but it feels like we do at times. So,
Right on. Well, this will be a great opportunity to shower a little love on him one more time, which sounds like is never enough. So yeah, when you see the camera go, all yours.
Julian, I honor you for your incredible friendship, and your care and support, and thoughtfulness for the people around you. specifically for me, I'm a fortunate beneficiary of your incredible altruism. And how I would phrase it is that I feel like I know we haven't lived in the same area for a long time, even though we grew up together and have known each other since we were 2 years old. Um, I feel like you're always with me. I feel like I have a guardian angel over my shoulder because, um, anytime that I am in a place of need, you feel it. There's a telepathic connection there, and you understand when people around you. You're aware when people around you need you and need support or need an ear or need some words, and you just always know what to say. You know when to say it, and yeah, you've gotten me through some really tough times recently with my family. Um, yeah, just being there to listen, being there to give me some advice on how to get through it and to give perspective on the world. That's been really important for me. Anytime that I've had, I know you and I have both shared a lot of tears together, whether that was back in elementary school or middle school about bullies or about a relationship gone wrong, whatever it might be. But as far as fears that I faced, pretty consistently throughout my career is imposter syndrome. And you're always someone that shows belief in me. If I'm ever feeling that, you'll give me a call or we'll be chatting, and the way that you lift me up just changes the way that I view life. And like without getting into tears here, man, because I swear I'm about to. Yeah, you mean the world to me. So I hope that you know that. That's what I want you to know.
Thanks again to Eric for sharing your story with us. What an incredible interview this was for me. It's rare when a stranger is willing to be so vulnerable and take a chance on, just a thoughtful conversation and maybe a couple of collaborative points, if we should be so lucky. There are a couple of things that really stood out to me about this episode. First, I love that ritual that Eric has with his players to just answer a random question and discover each other's personalities. It sounds like such a small thing, but to have a conversation that helps us to step out of the mundane can be so refreshing. And he's so spot on with that. So I hope that's something that I can incorporate more into my life. The second thing I liked was when Eric said it's important for us to use each other. I know that sounds weird because it makes our relationships sound transactional, but I believe we all want the most out of life and that we all want that for each other. So to tack on to what Eric was saying, I would add, don't be afraid of the fact that we're using each other to try to get the best out of life, but practice honesty by sharing gratitude and honor, kind of like how we do here. Anyways, those were two of many talking points that really stood out to me. I'm probably going to go journal about some more, but I would love to know what stood out to you. Let me know in the comments. And remember, there's never a bad time to reconnect with somebody that you've been meaning to reach out to. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one.